welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Bark, 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 bark. Yay. Happy Sunday for you all. Heading into the tail end of the summer, 2025. Where are we here? 24th of August. Wow. One more week of August to go. Suppose next week we will be heading into Labor Day weekend conversations. I think the first is a holiday, which would make sense. Labor's Day. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually try and make like two holidays out of this here going forward. But anyway, you could probably imagine a lot of sort of Wall Street people probably taking off this last week of August to head up to the Hamptons and enjoy that holiday weekend. Don't really see a heck of a lot standing in front of the market over this next week or so. So my hunch here is probably the environment that we've been sort of put into here heading out of the latter part of the summer probably continues. Had a pretty big move in the stock market there on Friday. I suppose you could argue the catalyst was Mr. Powell's sort of introductory speech there at the Jackson Hole Symposium in Wyoming. But my hunch was that I think the market was actually pretty vulnerable there. And I think you could make the argument that it was a sell the rumor. Is Powell going to be a jerk? Is he going to fight Trump? Is this going to be political? All that kind of talk. And it was interesting. The market actually started to spike about, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes before he actually took the podium. So my hunch is that people got sort of a copy of the transcript of the speech, there's one gentleman online, can't remember who it is, who always is going on about how the primary dealers, Goldman Sachs and Joey Diamond and all those people, they actually get a lot of this sort of stuff ahead of the public. I wouldn't be surprised if they got a copy of the speech minutes before he actually took the stage, and they started to just cover their shorts and start buying. And I did watch on Friday, the market actually took off just before he took the podium. If I understand correctly, the basic message from his speech was with regard to the economy, that is. We're in this situation now where we do have inflationary pressures that are lingering from all this tariff nonsense. And at the same time, the economy does appear to be slowing. Unemployment is starting to rear its ugly head. I think jobless claims on Thursday came out spiked a bit higher. So this is a very, very tricky time for our society. And unfortunately, we kind of have like a little foreshadowing of what's to come down the road. But my hunch here is that due to political pressures, the prudent thing to do would be to make sure that inflation has been killed, but that's not politically palatable. I think that's probably the best word to use. It would imply that we've got to slow things down, which means less jobs. industry has to contract, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think they're going to let that happen. Politically, and of course, taco going on being a taco. So this is probably going to resolve that they lower interest rates in the United States, and that sets the stage for an absolutely insane economic expansion. Maybe the second half of next year, because usually it takes about 6 months for interest rate policy to actually start affecting the broader economy. So I wouldn't be surprised if through sort of the latter part of this year, and keep in mind our S&P 500 January barometer is suggesting, oh boy, things are going to get a little bit challenging here through the fall. And ironically enough, actually, I don't think this really has a heck of a lot to do with the United States of America, which I know sounds weird. But I really do think that what's going on in the world is the unwinding of the stupidity of how utterly extreme the entire market went there through that last fear cycle. And we are technically in a greed cycle, which should be hegemony, whatever the hegemony du jour is. In this case, it's the United States of America. It should be actually relatively positive for the United States. And interestingly enough, I was even stacking. I'm not sure what the hell you call this, Substack. And I like this Substack platform because I can sit and write lengthy posts here without having to pay people like Alan some sort of Vic for using his platform. So actually, yesterday I did a very lengthy write-up on the bond market and the stock market, and more importantly, listening to the smart money speaking in the marketplace. And that's very, very difficult for the public to do. Because ironically enough, if we actually look at the smart money, they are screaming at us right now. This is what's known as the Commitments of Traders reports, COT for short. Teal is the commercials. And ironically enough, the entire futures industry is actually built for the commercials. And the green line is the large institutions who actually facilitate the trade for the commercials. And whenever you see a situation where the commercials have structurally turned bearish, and the large specs, the institutions, have turned structurally bullish, that is a very, very bullish vote for whatever this market is. Turns out this is US Treasury bonds. And if we scroll down, and this is what gets really scary, is if we look at the stock market, there's the S&P 500 futures contracts, similar sort of story. If we have the commercials turning bullish and we have the large specs facilitating the trade for the commercials are bearish and trending bearishly, that is a very bearish vote on whatever this market is. And this turns out to be the stock market. So the market is screaming at us. The only problem, of course, is the public has no interest in this whatsoever. And they'll, of course, only after the fact start bitching and complaining that the whole thing's rigged and stuff. Keep in mind, there have been lots of chatter lately about, guys like Bezos and stuff selling tons of Amazon stock and all that kind of idea. We'll talk about this gentleman in a bit. But I did actually, and I don't know where it is. Yeah, I thought this was fascinating. The omen always was that Donald Trump will be the last U.S. president of the United States of America. That's fascinating. But I actually do see a number of things that are actually, I I think actually US dollar bullish and bond bullish. They actually came out with the what the hell is it? Congressional Budget Office, CBO something, came out with a projection that Trump's tariffs were going to increase the deficit by a gazillion dollars, right, when he first proposed it. And now they're actually proposing that, and I had it on here somewhere earlier, that, and there was actually a really cool chart, but then I try and go and find these damn posts and stuff, and I kind of get lost. That the Congressional Budget Office, whatever the hell the acronym is actually going to, there you are, is actually going to reduce the trade deficit by $4 trillion. That's what the CBO, whatever it is, projects now. So, of course, this comes at the detriment to U.S. consumers because they're going to have to bite the increased cost. But then again, we talked about this. We all know what 1947 and 1948 look like. So in a weird sort of way, I think it's just going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But fascinatingly, because of this kind of situation, I don't think the United States of America is actually who gets hurt the most. As I had pointed out in that COT report that I just showed you, yeah, I think the institutions are getting ready for the world to, come unhinged here, wherever the hell that kind of, I will say, it's difficult navigating this site, but anyway, I'm kind of having fun on it. But my hunch here, for whatever it's worth, probably not worth much, is you could actually see a significant problem building in the global economy. And I wouldn't even be surprised if I could see China to collapse. I could see China collapse. I could see a lot of European nations collapse. But what really scares me is I actually think we're all going to be basically moving into a quasi-socialist communist society. As I had said here, I thought it was interesting. If you actually, what is the definition of socialism? It is actually the majority of workers in a society deriving their income from government sources. That is the definition of socialism. And ironically enough, you could actually make the argument that the United States is actually the biggest socialist country in the world. Why? Because the Department of Defense is the world's biggest employer. And, a third to I think it's a third, it's probably a quarter to a third, somewhere in there. All US tax revenues go straight into the Defense Department. So is that not the definition of socialism? Sounds like it to me. And now what's interesting is, whether it be things like the farmers in the US, they're literally going to be on the dole now, right? And that's what back when I was a kid, what they used to call welfare, the dole, the public dole. And of course, you were, a villain of society if you relied on the dole. Intel now is basically it's now been quasi-nationalized. The baby boomer generation, to a certain degree, all of them are on welfare now. You can call it, hey, I worked all my life, paid taxes. Fuck you. This is my pension. Well, I don't care what word you use. You're on the dole. You are basically a bitch of the state. In China, they call it old age security. Well, I don't care what the hell you call it. I mean, the dole is the dole. And if you listen to Tom, what's fascinating now, and this gets super scary, is university graduates now cannot find employment. And that I would highly encourage all of you. I thought this was an absolutely great interview. How does Brian spend his Saturdays? No, go to the beach, go hang out, chase skirts, get drunk. No, no, no. Brian sits and watches and studies and does commitments to traders reports and listens to Tom Lee for 2 or 3 hours. But I got to tell you, this was an absolutely fantastic interview. Um, these two guys, these interviewer guys, I think I don't know whether they're brothers or father and son or whatever, the Compound and Friends. These guys are solid. I mean, they just ooze trader. Really, really enjoyed this interview. But what's scary is all three of them agreed. Tom here himself. Tom looks a little bit disheveled. I don't know. He's a kind of a funny character. He's don't give a shit kind of guy. I like his attitude. But the way the three of these were talking about, because Tom has three kids that are all, and my kid is 25 years old. So I'm probably in the same age category as Tom, but he was saying all three of his kids, he's saying, you better go get a skill that sort of separates you from the crowd, because the days of just graduating from university with a generic degree and just assuming that you'll get employment in this world, those days are over, which is scary. And ironically enough, of course, he is most bullish of AI. And what I'm hearing, a lot of kids coming out of college, they would absolutely love to get jobs in the financial services industry. And I think through the interview, they even said that, typically there's about 50,000 jobs in the New York City area that are all directly related to the financial services industry. But because of the evolution of AI, that number has been now cut down to about 5,000. So you can see the writing on the walls. This is literally the fabric of this society is literally being torn apart. And as we've talked about at length about our celestial cycles, 6 different celestial events, all happening in this 2020 decade. The world on the other side of this event window won't look anything at all like what the world looked like before this. And I can even see it just all around me. Of course, in China here, I could go on and on. Probably not worth the wasted breath. But if anything, I would strongly suggest that all of you watch this video. It was definitely worth the time invested. Absolutely. Interesting developments within sort of things like the crypto market. And I had put a piece out this morning, sort of talking a little bit about Ethereum. And I thought that that's probably the market of note here this particular week, as I do like, and it makes sense to me, that as we move later and later and later in this crypto cycle, what ends up happening is we start moving down the food chain. So Bitcoin actually bottomed at like 13,000-14,000. So you could make the argument Bitcoin's already sitting 10x off its lows. Just with that kind of backdrop, do you think Brian's going to suggest, oh yeah, a market that's moved up 10x in the past 2 years, that's the smart market to go and invest in? Come on. So, again, the writing's on the walls. But the interesting thing with Ethereum, and of course, this sort of as we move down the food chain, is a lot of these markets, they haven't really had that 10x move. A lot of people are like, when altcoin season? When do I get rich just buying shit coins and all that kind of fun stuff? I suppose you could argue there is the bottom, and that's pretty damn low, folks. That's like $860, right? Maybe that number's wrong. Hold on. Let's call it 1,000. So if you, it's interesting how my number here says 8,900. Maybe I got that wrong. Ironically enough, if you actually use the same logic with Bitcoin going 10x off its lows, well, shouldn't this thing go? There we are, $880, the low right there. If you look at that low right there, right, 880. Oh, I went right by it. There it is, 880. So what does that say? Like 8,800? Well, and interesting. Kevin there says that predicts ETH goes to $10,000. Well, if anything, that would make perfect sense, wouldn't it? Bitcoin 10x. Let's see Ethereum go 10x. I don't see any reason why that can't happen. When we start talking levels, big fan, of course, of extensions. It's a concept that I teach in trade location tools. So a really big fan of using extension levels. And also, too, I'm a big fan of things like chaos theory. I get a funny feeling in the near term, our target destination just so happens to be, and actually, I guess I covered it up here. I get the feeling that, how am I going to do this? I got to move this thing over without losing there. BFRN. In fact, actually, are we about to hit it now? Oh, it's one of those kind of lines. Oh, fudge. Anyway, I can't see why we wouldn't hit 5Gs here. I mean, that's such a big, fat, round number. That's acting as like a magnet. And frankly speaking, I wouldn't be surprised if, we oscillate up and down and around like that kind of thing over the next little while. Once we get up into sort of this $7,000-8,000 area, and keep in mind 10x off the bottom, you have to start thinking like, oh, Jesus, this market's going parabolic. And usually, markets go straight up into that event window. But I think it's important that you put this move into context. I mean, geez, just less than 6 months ago, you got to pick this thing up at $1,500-1,600, or like Brian, you just blindly buy 786s. That's usually a pretty good level to hunt going forward, and good things happen to you. But do you think Brian's going to be like, oh yeah, go buy your Ethereum there, you'll do fine? That's got trouble written all over it. And ironically enough, the tweet that I just put out was just simply, if I wanted to invest, think like an institutional player. And that's the important thing about this silly game. Do you think institutions, even all the people that, Tom Lee's pitching right now, do you think that they're going and loading up the boat here now? I don't think so. If anything, if I was an institutional player and I was being pitched by Tom, I'd say, all right, we'll go and take a little nibble of your name here. But, and keep in mind that these reload zones are floating, but watch what happens to this reload zone if maybe we do pop all the way up to 700. You notice that reload zone doesn't really move a hell of a lot. So, I'm a big fan. Of course, there's Brian 786. If we do pop all the way up to the top of the parking garage, notice 786 still sitting down in these green windows here. I mean, maybe, and I certainly wouldn't be the one to predict this, maybe we can pop all the way up here to 10 Gs. That would be just, considering that we're kind of running out of time here on the bull, I think that's a little unrealistic. But also, too, what I would say, if you are a fan of Tom, keep in mind, Tom doesn't really have a time horizon on anything. So 2 or 3 years from now, if Ethereum did hit 10 Gs, let's say the next cycle go round, well, he'd say, well, everybody should remember what is the fine print on every single Wall Street publication. What should be your time horizon? on your investment ideas. I don't know if any of you even remember this or not. And there are periods, sadly, for a guy like Tom, because he even says, I'm a research guy. I'm a research guy. So there are periods when the market comes off and people are bitching and yelling at him and stuff just because the market's not moving the direction that they want it to move. I think he's correct. My hunch here is that as we move through this greed cycle, you're probably going to find that the entire financial services industry, remember I had said just a moment ago that 50,000 jobs got reduced down to 5,000 jobs. Frankly speaking, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of this that itself is even cut in half, or even 1/10 by time the end of, because keep in mind the blockchain basically removes all necessity for back office paperwork. They used to actually make people come into work in brokerage jobs on Saturdays to just simply do all of the paperwork to everything, carbon paper and triplicate and all that kind of shit, just to make sure that they were all caught up. All those jobs due to the blockchain, they'll all disappear. And ironically enough, Ethereum is actually going to be the facilitator of that through their smart contracts. And you can already start to see it happen. So it's fascinating how, between AI and crypto, this is the old adage, help wanted, humans need not apply. Scary times we're living in here, folks. And if you do have kids that are sort of getting into, and I suppose this is to a certain degree like Klaus's prediction, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will be on the dole. You will have like a basic government income. And I got to say, this Trump doofus, he is literally sowing the seeds of society's destruction here because he's being so polarizing and he's such a dick that what's going to happen, you can see it coming. I projected that in 2020 that Donald Trump will come back and he will win the election in 2024. And that is exactly what happened. And I project and I predict, even though we shouldn't get into the business of predicting, that he is literally sowing the destruction of the Republican-controlled Congress through the election of November 2026. You can see it coming a mile away. And the irony of it all is the socialists are going to come piling back in and they're going to just print. And it's all of Klaus's predictions. And then all of our 1947, 1948 predictions of the absolute insane hyperinflation. I mean, the irony of it all is this shit writes itself. It's stunningly telegraphed. I can't believe it. But the point that I guess I'm trying to make out of all of this is you can be an ETH fan. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, why weren't you an ETH fan back here? Or buy the fucking dip back here. This is our shark setup, right? Brian's an open book. I forced myself to come in and buy, ironically enough, where you're supposed to buy. Why is it all of a sudden the world's waking up and becoming an ETH fan here? That's lunacy. But oh well, that's what makes a market. And unfortunately, my comment is, you can bid this price up, and I don't know how high they're going to take it, but just be aware and understand I, as a very typical institutional type player, will be selling into your euphoria. And I would expect that anybody that's been a student of mine over these past 10 years will be doing the same. Institutional players sell up markets. They buy down markets. That's what I'm trying to, ironically enough, turn all of you into, is institutional players. lose and the sad part about it is, our society builds the public to act like emotional creatures and to do exactly the wrong thing. So we got to lose all of the brainwashing that you've become sort of programmed to adhere to. Turn on social media, whatever, whoever's circle jerking the hardest, that's what you should go in and FOMO buy, and just blindly believe in whatever their emotional rants are, blah blah blah. And the irony of all of that is that that's usually exactly what the institutions want you thinking. They want you chasing, they want you buying the dream, and unfortunately, they want you buying their assets, which is kind of sad. Um, I'd be very surprised if we can actually break out of this very wide trend channel that we're in right now. So I'm not really expecting things like 10,000 on something like Ethereum, but I wouldn't be surprised. Number one, BFRN, I think that that's a foregone conclusion. And hell, we're probably going to hit this as I'm talking. But I wouldn't be surprised if we stall out up in the parking garage. That's typically what happens with these moves. It certainly wouldn't be out of the ordinary. Could we have a 2 week period where the price is literally doubling through that window? Maybe, but I doubt it. Having said that, too, I would expect that this altcoin market and the frivolity around all of this actually probably goes on right into the end of the year. And once we hit the new year and it's a new tax loss selling window, of course, we'll have all the public here buying into the peak. Institutions will book all of their, trades, transactions, and stuff through that end of the year. Get all the public just absolutely euphoric. And then, of course, we all know based on our Benner cycle what 2026 is supposed to give us. So I don't necessarily expect that we run up and top and we hit Ethereum tops on the Bitcoin cycle. I don't think it's going to work that way. I think what happens here is this whole space does move higher, and Bitcoin, of course, playing on its very normal, winter, spring, summer, fall calendars, 1.382 extension levels. This is a projection if the market does indeed go parabolic. I don't think that that's likely this go round. My hunch is we probably stall out in these kind of windows, and this is just sort of arithmetic growth. Try saying that 10 times fast. Again, parking garage kind of thinking, harmonic kind of thinking. It makes sense to me. And what the hell? I mean, everything is pointing up. I don't have any reason here whatsoever to be bearish. If anything, ironically enough, Adam, where are you? Say your line. Say your line. Usually what I've found, for whatever it's worth, after you get actually one of these sort of resets on the moving averages, usually I find that this 13 EMA is traded to like 3 times, and then the third or fourth test is just too much. It's just like this trend is getting really old, and it's that third or fourth test of the 13 EMA that ultimately causes it to break. I suppose you could argue 1, 2, 3. Oh shit. So, 1, 2, 3. Oh shit. Right. Maybe 4. So, it wouldn't surprise me if we keep, and what the hell? I mean, higher highs and higher lows defines a bull. So I don't see anything that changes the bull story here. I also too think with regard to Bitcoin that there is quite a bit of sort of washing out the weak hands. before we enter in this parabolic phase of the market state. And if you think about it from like the Fink and all those Wall Street crooks, do they really want the public to be long Bitcoin if they're just about to 2x, 3x this thing through the final push? No, they want to wash all of them out and make sure the public actually, ironically enough, is thinking bearish, not bullish. And I do believe that the volatility that you've seen over the past, say 2 or 3 weeks, I think is a function of that. Also, too, especially through that August options expiry, we actually saw Wall Street get long the Bitcoin ETF, this thing here, in absolutely insanely large numbers. Like the August options expiry, which was right there. There was, I remember one strike price in particular had 78,000 put options written. And I can absolutely guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt, there is no public participant coming into the market and writing 78,000 puts. That is 7.8 million shares of this IBIT at like 60 some odd dollars a share. You do the math, that's I think about $250 million. That's not the public. And keep in mind, institutions write 90% of all puts. And that option expired in the money, which meant that that institution, whoever wrote those puts, they were forced to buy 7.8 million shares of this Bitcoin ETF. And I've seen this repeatedly. And then what's ironic is I show my audience when I do my broadcasts on the Rational Investor site. I show the audience how in the S&P 500, big chunky stock index, you see repeatedly tons of puts written, and then mysteriously the market goes out on options expiry, and all of those puts expire worthless. Party in the fucking Hamptons, Coke, booze, tits on me. And those tits are expensive these days. It's probably not the most polite vernacular to use, but anyway. So somebody is acquiring this thing in size. I mean, in staggering size. But they're doing it through the options market. So that means they don't have to report to the SEC. And the public is none the wiser. So there's lots of writing on the walls that says, we're still going higher. And I don't really see any reason why these cycles should end here. This doesn't make any sense at all. I'd also say, too, look at what the last eclipse window did to the market. And more importantly, rather than Bitcoin, let's go take a look at that Ethereum and see how it behaved through the last cycle. And this is exactly what I expect to happen this cycle, but in exact opposite. And I suppose there's probably some mathematical principle to this. If anything, this almost reminds me of, and I don't know how I find this because I've shown you this before, but what happens to a, how did they do that? Spinning, I don't know, spinning object in space. I have a funny feeling that our universe works this way. Oh, that's weird.
You sponsored this episode. Laugh.
That was weird. I was just signed out of YouTube there, probably because they wanted to put me somewhere else. Wow, that's bizarre. Let's see if I can get back on the. Oh, look at that! What a mess! God, you bastards. Somebody obviously does not want me to show you this. And I did find it interesting. What was it? There was something I was watching yesterday. It was a live broadcast, and they started to talk about the Epstein files. And this was like a major news outlet. And all of a sudden, their feed went out. I couldn't believe it. Let's see if I can remember this password. All right, there we are. Anyway, look at that. We only have 29 people watching today. Anyway, I don't know whether this is going to show us it or not. I just, just first click. What is this nonsense? Oh, there's this guy. Actually, he does quite it. So anyway, I don't know whether you ever seen what happens to a nut when it's spinning in space.
It was a strange encounter.
It actually just flips around.
Russians kept secret for 10.
So I don't know whether you saw that. Go watch this guy's video, Veritisium. He does quite a bit of good work. I hope I didn't get a copyright thing for playing that for you. But the point of the matter here is, I think from a market perspective wise, and thinking about the eclipses as one of those, oh, there you go, the Matador. I have no idea how the hell to pronounce that word. The starts with a D effect. We'll call it that. Maybe I should learn that, eh? So next time I make reference to this, at least I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, that Matador dude, anybody who's sitting there in the YouTube channel, pay attention to this guy. This guy, I see big, big things in his future. I would strongly, at the very least, go and befriend him. So then that way, when he takes over the world, at least he's on your side. But anyway, right you are. If that's the name of the effect, so be it. But anyway, the point of the matter here is, I do, in a weird sort of way, think that these eclipses actually are connected to this phenomena. Not him, the screw, right? This thing. There's something connected here. I can't quite put my finger on it yet. I'm sure, the irony of it all is that my father was engineering physics. And if you know that university degree, it's one of the hardest university degrees to get. And my mother was a math major. So it shouldn't surprise you that I love numbers and all that kind of crap as much as that I do. And I know that somehow this effect is actually what happens here through these eclipses. I haven't figured it out yet, but probably by the time I die, I will have figured out the association. But anyway, the point being that, of course, we were all falling off a cliff through that last eclipse window. And then there was one more blow off move following the eclipse window, but that was a trap. And I think, oh, coincidence, here comes our Bitcoin cycle peak. I think the exact same thing's going to happen here. And I wouldn't be surprised on both Ethereum and on Bitcoin. I would not be surprised if there is a significant sort of shakeout in this market. I mean, maybe the shakeout is to the downside. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. But I don't think it's going to play out this way. My hunch, for whatever it's worth, and it ain't worth much, is I think it actually plays out this way. And I've done this chart up on the total, where, and you can see, I mean, this has been a fascinating study to watch. And if anything, this is exactly why most people fail at technical analysis, is they get absolutely chopped up in periods like this. Oh, well, that Beamish guy says M's are bearish, so I'm going to short. And all of a sudden, boom, you get totally destroyed. Well, okay, well, maybe the first M was okay. Now there's M's. Beamish says M's are bearish. I got to go short. And you're going to get screwed again. I think it's super important to acknowledge these cycle pivots. And unfortunately, a lot of technical analysis, it is most useful in the absence of fundamental drivers. And unfortunately, especially with the way taco is fucking the world around here right now, we have a lot of fundamental drivers that are just absolutely screwing with the marketplace. And I might argue that, this is a pretty damn big fundamental driver, this Bitcoin 4-year cycle. I don't think it's in your best interest to just discount this. And everybody that has come along and said, oh, no, 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 this time it's different, this time it's different. I've literally watched, I remember I was in Europe through this fall period and going around to various different Bitcoin conferences and stuff like that. They were absolutely jam packed with people. And yet, as a trader, my very first question to all of them was, well, what the hell is the value of one Bitcoin? And not a single person at any of these events could tell me. Not a single one, which is scary because it just goes to show that the public comes in, they see shiny object, they get all jazzed about it. Everybody else is jazzed about it. So let's hop on the bandwagon with everybody else and let's all grab some tissue, grab some Vaseline, and you know what to do. And of course, they all had their hearts like literally ripped out of their chests as we transition from fall into winter. It doesn't necessarily have to play out exactly the same way. Last cycle actually was a fairly efficient, let's just rip their hearts out in just a nice orderly manner. But the point here is, be damn careful about when we get into fall and winter windows. And frankly speaking, I can't really consider getting sort of bullish of Bitcoin and investing in crypto until, oh, what a coincidence. Is there something that's supposed to happen politically? I've already said it, right in this window here, that might be sort of the end of one conversation and the beginning of a new conversation. Right? I might actually make the argument that if the socialists can come piling into power next November, and I think it's a foregone conclusion, I do see that Mr. Trump is actually trying to what they call gerrymandering, which is hilarious because he's literally trying to fix the next election. But ironically enough, that's within the red states. But ironically enough, those in the blue states are like, fuck you, you're going to gerrymander over there. We're going to gerrymander over here just to offset your gerrymandering. And I might have that word, might be pronouncing it wrong, but I think Oh, hopefully you know what gerrymandering is. If you don't, man, it might be an idea for you to look into it. And it also is a slap in the face to actual quote unquote democracy. And if it's one thing that you can absolutely depend on from Taco, is he does not believe in democracy. He believes in autocracy. It is orange toupee way, or I'm going to sick the Justice Department after you. And how ironic this whole politicizing, no, that's not the right word, weaponizing the justice system. He is like literally doing exactly the same thing that the Democrats are doing to him. And I think that the Democrats, after November of 2026, are going to make Mr. Trump's last 2 years in office an absolute fucking living nightmare. Anyway, that's my crazy ass forecast. And what's scary about this is that this should be the advent of a very, very tough time for our society. But at the same time, too, if you are a speculator and you can actually take advantage of what's coming up here through fall and early winter, you know that when the socialists come back to power, and actually this would be a really interesting question for you viewers. what do you think is going to be the number one priority when the socialists come piling back into power? I mean, one thing and one thing only: socialist. Think that word. They're gonna print money like we're fucking going out of style, right? I mean, that's socialism. I wouldn't be surprised if there's even like another health crisis. They lock everybody in their cells and they just turn on the printing presses. Free money for everybody. You don't have to pay rent. Fuck them. You know, I mean, you can see it coming. Yeah, that's right, Matador. Print Burr. That's right, Nori. And so what do assets that theoretically are supposed to be uh how do we say this? What's the term I'm looking for? Supposed to be currency agnostic, right? You're supposed to buy an asset because the value of the asset is appreciating. But if this thing that they're actually denominating these assets in is collapsing, then what price or what direction does the asset have to go? And then this is the whole point of is this coming cycle? Let's see if I have that somewhere on here. Is this cycle more about growth, or is it more about just debasement of currency to try and keep the Fugazi going? And I think it's all the latter, not the former. And actually, I have a number of studies. Of course, can't find it when I'm just talking on the fly with all of you. So disorganized when I do all this. I should have all this stuff all ready to go ahead of time. But if you think about where do I have that? Some of these social media channels. That'll take me 10 minutes to find the damn social media thing. I think I put it on here somewhere. I hate to say it, but I think that the stock market right now is anticipating the big blow up in asset prices. And I think, to a certain degree, crypto is also participating in that. And, if you listen to Tom, everybody and their brother is going to be moving to the blockchain here over the next 10 years. And his feeling is that Ethereum will actually become more valuable than Bitcoin. And it wouldn't surprise me. We're not actually in the by proof of work. Actual value of the asset is most important. We're not in that phase anymore. We're in the growth cycle phase. So Ethereum as a growing network, world's biggest computer, all that kind of stuff. I think it can actually grow. Yeah, and if the value of money collapses, you're not necessarily seeing Ethereum's price actually move higher. You're just seeing the price of the value of the currency falling. Anyway, where do I want to show you? Geez, I can never find this stuff when I'm just blabbing away here. Anyway, what do I think is the path for things like the US stock market over the next 5-10 years? I think it is. Can I find it? I doubt it. Unfortunately, guess what we got coming ahead of us? 47-48. Oh God. It's going to be a fucking ugly couple of years ahead of us. And you can see the crisis, that particular cycle kicked in about halfway through 46. And I'm thinking that that's what they're going to do to us this go round. But halfway through next year, especially when the polls start coming out about, how Mr. Trump's going to do in the coming election, I think it's going to really freak people out. This is what I wanted to show you. So ironically enough, from a stock market perspective, this is the greatest generation, them going through their particular cycle back in the 1940s. And, our January barometer kind of suggested that we were going to go up and then have kind of a tough end to the year. So I get the feeling that the next 5 years of society, ironically enough, we're probably in the midpoint of where stock market probably sits for the next few years. We know that 2026 Benner cycle is supposed to be a peaking year. And of course, some sort of crisis kicks in about halfway through next year. And I think this is the inflation shock. I don't know what it is. Who knows? Might be World War III, might be a collapse in the bond market. It might be, fucking, who knows? Taco gets assassinated. Who knows? Could be, I mean, that's why, you can't write better fiction than reality. And I wouldn't get into the business of predicting what's going to happen, because whatever happens, the story is going to be way more outlandish than anything we could ever predict. So that's kind of what I'm thinking our path over the next 5 years is. And of course, if we think Benner cycle, the next really big bull cycle kicks in 32, so way over here. And if you do the comparisons, in essence, this is this image just blown up. This is a little bit old, but we're sort of like right here right now. And over the next 5 years or so, the market has to go sideways. So think 1947. So that's right in this area. This is what I think our future is going to look like here for the next little while. It's going to be a tough slog, no doubt about it. But the good part about it is going into the new decade. Well, I think we've got some pretty good times out of us, actually. I don't know whether I totally agree with this image here just right yet, but I think maybe we're more like along here. So maybe this is the window. I don't know. That's a tough one. But regardless, I mean, the good part about it is there's our future. So if you can just hang in here, and with the money printing, the irony of it all is that things like the Dow, oh boy, these numbers are going to get absolutely staggering. And if you actually want a really good historical comparison, is look at the Brazilian stock market. So Brazil's suffered under just absolutely insane over the top socialist, kind of weird quasi socialist capitalism policies, and massive hyperinflation. And if you look at the value of the Brazilian stock market, it's not like it's so great. It's just the numbers for the actual indexes are basically in comparison to these kind of numbers, just because of the hyperinflation. So I don't know whether this cycle is all about the actual economy growing, or whether it's all about the Great Reset and them repricing assets based on, you will own nothing and be happy. You eat the bugs and be happy, and blah, 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 all that kind of talk. So anyway, I guess a little bit of backdrop kind of conversation. I would strongly suggest that you do not get married to these assets. And for God's sakes, when you start hearing people say things like this time it's different, that's your warning sign that we're coming near to the end of the cycle. I'm definitely starting to hear sort of the rumblings, but actually to define this time it's different, what we need to see is the market move up dramatically, which I don't really think we've actually seen yet. Yeah, Ethereum's moved up 2x, 2.5x here over the past little while. Bitcoin's kind of parked here right now. This isn't actually a huge amount of price movement here. And we're still painting higher highs and higher lows. And I haven't heard anybody talk about this time it's different kind of idea in Bitcoin. So I think what happens to actually generate this time it's different kind of talk is you get some sort of insane move up, and then maybe the market consolidates a bit. And the expectation, of course, is that there will be another run following this big move up. And that's where Brian goes, what are you, crazy? You're buying up here? What are you, nuts? Reload zones and all that kind of nonsense. What's the cost of production of one of these damn things? What's value? But the public comes out and says, no. Keep in mind, I run a business on crypto, and wow, look at all the money we made on the way up. But look at all the fucking subscribers that are piling in. Oh my God, we're going to get rich just out of selling courses and selling newsletters. So we better not say don't buy. Do you see the connection? I mean, it's kind of embarrassing how this stupid game works. So it's the dollar signs, the subscribers, the ooh, look at that guy. He's Bitcoin bullish and look how it's moved up. And oh man, he must be so smart. And that person or she, for that matter, doesn't necessarily have to be a he, equal opportunity world. Women can be just as stupid as men, that's for sure. Um, it's a trap. It's stunning how cliche this shit is. So, if you're long, fucking A, man, ride the wave. As I told the public, just understand, exactly. I mean, the sad part about it is anybody in the public knows exactly where they're supposed to be long from. Nah, actually, that's not true. How do we rephrase that? Anybody who's invested in understanding how markets work and how institutional players behave and how the capitalist process is completely counterintuitive to the human experience. So anybody who has learned that should know exactly where they should belong. And frankly speaking, it took fucking balls of steel to step in here and say, I have to buy this. I have no choice. I have to buy this. And of course, nobody in the public was even the slightest bit interested here. That's what the see. I'm not going to say the public should understand this because the public is brainwashed to not understand this, and if anything, give in to the emotional response. But the message that I'm giving to the public is, you want my coins? You know exactly where I am. Come and get them. I'll be more than happy to let them go. But I'm not certainly going to tell the public that this is a good investment here. This is actually turning into a very risky investment now, which is so sad. But anyway, Brian's an open book. I probably, what I got, like, 50 people watching this video. Nobody's even the slightest bit interested. They'll listen to idiots like this fool. He has been vindicated now, but oh boy, they all had to take a 50% punch in the nose. Do you want to be that person? I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea. Force yourself to come in and acquire at or below reload zones. Trade location is absolutely the most important aspect of quote unquote making money from trading. As Mr. Basant clearly stated in his public disclosures, I am a risk manager by trade. Coming in and buying this is an absolutely horrible risk manager decision. And as a risk manager, you would be fired if that happened and you bought right here. And are these people professional fund managers, or are these people shilling emotion? Come to Trump University. Learn how to be exactly like Trump, the art of the deal. Yeah, I graduated from Trump University. I didn't learn jack shit. Well, tough luck, sucker. Thank you for your tuition. Get the fuck out. These people are horrible investors by definition. Horrible. So anyway. All right. Enough of the rhetoric. I suppose we probably ought to get on to something you can actually use. And unfortunately, this is the hard part of my job, is ironically enough, I have to talk you all out of going and buying an asset that looks like this and, get 50 viewers or whatever. And in a year and a half's time, when this whole damn market comes crashing back down and we're in the middle of winter, and this last cycle right in here, I was like, get your shit together. Get your shit together. Get your fucking shit together. Well, if you had, you'd be sitting pretty right now. If you didn't get your shit together and you're coming in now, you're actually walking into a trap, I think. So sad. But anyway, that's my job. And it's a self-appointed job. 50 viewers of these videos. Trying to make a positive difference in this world. And if anything, what I'm, unfortunately, the next 6 months, my job is don't get sucked into the circle jerk. Don't chase. Think like an institution. It's your hard-earned money. And it can be taken away from you very, very quickly in this capitalist game. Do you really know what you're doing? Maybe it's worth investing in yourself and learning how important trade location is. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so big warning signs. We are very late to this party. We have a huge celestial event coming up here that will probably really fuck with the humans. Think spinning screws, and how there seems to be some circular pattern to this. And you see how the eclipse window affected the market, and then instantly it pivoted following that eclipse window. I'm thinking history is about to repeat itself. There's my warning message, my good Samaritan message. And ironically enough, when it comes to actually like the institutional players, the writing is on the wall. It is in glorious Technicolor. The only problem is nobody wants to listen to when the market is speaking to us. The market is screaming at us right now. The market is screaming at us right now. The only question is, are you listening? Is it really a good idea to go and be a huge investor in the stock market with us this close to good old Mr. Foggenbaum's constant and 1.272 extension levels, technically speaking? Is this really a good place to go and invest for your retirement here? I don't know, folks. If nothing else, just listen to Colin and the Pump Chasers. I really like the idea of just being patient and disciplined and waiting for pullbacks into this window. But of course, this is the only business when stuff goes on sale, nobody wants to buy. And the irony of it all is I actually think that the US, I've said this already once or twice, I think the US market is relatively insulated. But if we look at things like the China D stock market, oh boy, that looks dangerous. As just one example. Trouble ahead, folks, trouble ahead. Okay, now, is there anything that I could actually justify going and playing through here? I think that the way that you need to view this current market state is we are in the fluffy market state. Probably better to look at this one. This is the total crypto market minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I don't know, how does the expression go? What always rises last? Can anybody help me here? Oh, thank you, Rogue. I'm hanging in there. I do see that Liam is relatively in good spirits these days. So nothing to complain about. Life could be a hell of a lot worse. But who can help me finish this? There you go. And of course, YouTube's going to completely I got to show it, Nure, just because it's the correct answer. Maybe you say poop. Maybe you, there you go. So, if anything, this image is perfect. I do think that there are going to be newly minted millionaires over this next couple months. I do think that we're going to go through a bit of chop through the eclipse window. So that tells me that actually heading into the beginning of the eclipse window, I actually think we're going to go parabolic here. I do. And kind of like along your Ethereum sort of vein, my hunch here is that what ends up happening is people start looking at Ethereum and going, holy crap, look how it's been bid up. I can't go buy that. Are there any other? Thank you for being politically correct there, Jim and Liz. Are there any other alternatives? Well, if Ethereum's already moved up and, this is all about tokens and tokenization of the world and fuck that Beamish guy and his value of coins. There's no value to this. It's the network, and the network's going to grow indefinitely. Well, how does this game work? If I can't buy the Ethereum, maybe I'll start moving down the food chain. I know. And this might be a fun one to look at. I haven't looked at this in a bit. Whoops. Well, I guess it's this page. How about Solana? Okay, thank you, sir. Is Solana starting to wake up? Oh, hello. What letter of the alphabet do we see coming in here? Has Solana gone 2x, 3x? Has it broken out to new highs? Doesn't look like it. There's the old high up there. Didn't that Beamish guy say something about V tops? What's supposed to be our thinking around V tops? I'll get you guys to stop talking about poo caca. Sorry, hate to do that to you, but remember, Brian's an open book. Message never changes. The shit always rises last. Very good, Constantine. Excellent, Alexa. You guys are learning. This is awesome. I don't know whether Chris's audio played on the YouTube video, but he's telling me that I have a couple questions that need addressing in the Q&A document. So, can you see the poopier side of the market starting to wake up? Is this what's supposed to happen through the end of these bull runs? Absolutely. Who can tell me? Who should we start hearing from? Think TTID. Hint, hint, hint. Happens to wear watch manufacturers' clothing lines. Who should we start hearing from through this part of the cycle? Anyone? Anyone? That's right, Alexa. Matador even has the acronym down. So it makes perfect sense that this part of the market should start coming to life. And hey, if you're here to make money from trading, well, isn't this the exact time when you all should whiteboard enthusiasts? I like that. And just learn how to circle 3 letters and you can charge $5,000 a head. Oh God, this world. So this is exactly everything. Ironically enough, everything's just simply playing by exactly the way it's supposed to, by script. It's remarkable how cliche this shit is. So I do find it interesting just in the short term, the absolutely insane battle that's going on this trend line here. And as I had said earlier, I can completely understand why noobs are just getting absolutely destroyed here in the altcoin market. But understand, unfortunately, this is exactly what's supposed to happen through here. We got to wash out as many weak hands as possible. But we also, at the same time, too, have to get people saying, oh, don't listen to that Beamish guy. Look at last time I sold that M, I just got totally fucked. right? That's exactly what the market needs to do through this event window. And then all of the naysayers, and then they'll go start saying, see, I told you so. I told you so. Just buy and you're guaranteed to make money. But they don't understand that everything is just playing out exactly as it's supposed to. And ironically enough, if we think parking garages, oh, by the way, there's the parking garage way up there. So really nothing out of the ordinary here either. All right, we're going to even type in parking garage. So I think you got a pretty good idea where this thing wants to go. And if parking garages are parking garages, man, I don't know how high this freaking thing goes. Might even come up and play with this trend line here on the other side. What I will say though is if you are a fan of Elliott Wave, 2 to 3 actually should be the biggest move. So if anything, maybe we're looking at something like that to that and then up to there. So 2 to 3 is smaller than 4 to 5. But we'll see. Only time will tell. And I suppose, if you are a quote unquote trader, well, setups are setups. Just trade your setups. And actually, that's probably a perfect dovetail. I don't know whether Solana here is really setting anything up in particular. Did notice that a lot of the poop coins on Solana, hey, look at what we're starting to see happen here in Solana land. Do you think that's an accident? What always rises last? Tacos always rise last. I thought what would have been absolutely perfect is if Jerry stood up on stage and said, actually, I'm kind of hungry. And he whipped out of his breast pocket a taco and started eating it. That would have been so fucking perfect. But, oh well. I think Jerry's like, you know what? I don't have to stoop to that idiot's level. Sadly, guys like Taco, I mean, technically Taco is a convicted felon. So it'd be interesting to see how his fate plays out. I did see that last, and this is tangent, but it's fun talking. I did see last week there was an appeal that he made to a higher New York district court that his conviction, and he is a convicted felon now, by the way. The appeals court upheld the conviction and the fraud conviction, but they overturned the $500 million penalty as it was in violation of his Eighth Amendment rights in the U.S. Constitution. So his conviction as a felony, he is convicted, and his family has been convicted of fraud. That is going to be upheld. It's just the actual dollar amount of his conviction and sentence, I don't know what you call it, is under scrutiny, and that has been overturned. But anyway, back to our story. Does this chart not make sense given the fact that this stuff is garbage? It really has no intrinsic value whatsoever, but mysteriously send in the W's. I mean, does that not make sense? Can somebody actually help me here? We have one guy, DDBB, on the website. No idea who any of these people's real names are. That's one thing I really do not like about this social media sort of world that we're living in. People are not open books. I'm Brian Beamish. Damn glad to meet you. I am an open book. I'm an open page, which probably leaves me incredibly vulnerable. I do not like people who hide behind aliases and shadows. It's a really sad commentary on this human experience. But anyway, point being here, does this image not make sense given what the market state is and where we are? And should we be paying attention to things like rising volume trends here? I think so. But I mean, let me just ask you point blank, nice and simple. Is this asset actually quote unquote investment grade? Do you think that an asset like this is actually worthy of a quote unquote investment? All 72 of you over there on YouTube, and maybe type in the comment. First comment posted. All right. I think Alexa's playing with me. First comment, wrong. Why is it you couldn't quote unquote invest in this over here? Well, I'm making a solid investment. And oh, look at me. I'm so damn smart. And then, well, what the fuck just happened? And I'm just randomly picking a name. There are others that are moving up even more. This is just off this shit list that I have. Look at this one. Neon up 73% today. If the name was Taco, eh? Is that an investment grade asset? Of course not. This stuff is shit. But hey, I'm asset agnostic. I don't give a shit whether it's investment grade or not, but I'm definitely willing to speculate. If I have like $1,000, $500 that I can just have fun with, I don't need it to pay rent. I want to flip some shit coins. And, my old buddy used to always say, make hay while the sun's shining. Well, is it worth us paying attention down in these kind of levels to take advantage of these kind of moves? I mean, even if you little old lady bought this thing with less than 5% of your stake to work with, and you're just like, holy Jesus, look how far this has fallen. Is there even a realistic possibility that maybe this asset doubles in price from 0.09? What is that? I guess 9 cents up to 20 cents. Is that even possible? So that if something like that does happen, I can sell half of it, get my original money back in my pocket, and then I'm just playing with the market's money, and who knows what the fuck's gonna happen here. But if this thing goes fucking moon ass crazy, I might just go buy a Lambo. Is that realistic? Well, you can see it's already happened. So why not? But make no mistake about it, this is not investing whatsoever. This is pure and utter speculation. So that's your decision. Are you here to quote unquote make money from trading? Are you a trader? Can you not fall in love with these things and just simply take the market's money? And of course, if you can, establish risk-free trades so that you don't have any of your own money at risk. There's nothing stopping you, but just don't kid yourself. And that's the one thing that really bums me out about a lot of people that come into this space. Many a short-term trade turn into a long-term investment. So I don't have a problem with you coming in here and just flipping this shit. I mean, hell, I remember this one stock through the dot-com boom, Beco. Any of you remember Beco from the bulletin board days? Man, I know some people that made tens of millions of dollars on that piece of shit. And yet that's what it was. It was a piece of shit. So, 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Somebody's barking about Bitcoin. Whoa, hello. That's interesting. So it's ironic that I actually put out a tweet yesterday. Isn't that ironic? So I put out a tweet yesterday just saying, careful, all you people. Right? The tweet that I put out yesterday, and how ironic, eh? As I said, tacos are tacos. They actually left a gap on the Bitcoin chart from just before the explosion higher, right? This is a taco market state. Don't be shocked or surprised. So I guess none of us should be shocked or surprised at what just happened. There was that gap. And this is exactly what I was telling you about JP's speech and that sort of foreshadowing. Somebody knew ahead of time before JP was speaking, and how ironic they actually just left a little price gap right there, which was your hint that, oh, by the way, we're going to have to come back to that. So isn't that interesting? So this is a tricky market, folks. In fact, actually, this might be an interesting study to do. What happens if we draw alt ABCDs? Is this like a 1.618 alt ABCD level? That wouldn't surprise me. So if we go boom, boom, and then go boom, man, this is it. Sadly, I mean, this is a very, very dangerous market for the noobs. They're going to absolutely destroy through this market. But oh well, everybody's got to learn. And actually give me some feedback here, veterans. Jim and Liz, Alexa, all of our buddies, Norray, Constantine. And, this is important feedback that I need to hear. Do you feel as though me talking the way that I am, is this making a positive difference in new people to trading's lives? Do you think? Or do you think I'm just making the situation worse? I would really like to know. Because that's, sadly, that's the whole point of this whole exercise is I'm trying to make a positive difference in your people's lives. Oh, look at that shit. Son of a bitch. Look at that. Fuck me. So according to the bot, you should have been short from 114.9. Move stop to scratch, move stop to trailing, take profit 1, take profit 2, take profit 3, and look at where prices come back to. Holy shit. Can you believe what just happened there, folks? Can you see that? All right. So I'm seeing my editor says 1,000%. Constantine says yes. Jim and Liz say absolutely yes. Alexa says 100% better. I'm trying to get all my friends to start listening. That's good. You always make a positive change for the better, Brian. I don't think always. That's a tough word. I sure hope I do. It may help, but you are probably helping individuals who can listen. And thanks, JU5T. Yeah. Well, I sure hope I'm making a pot. I can't believe how cliche that just was. I mean, that's exactly, ironically enough, what I'm actually trying to teach you. I don't get it. I mean, actually, there's nothing surprising here whatsoever. Thanks, Alexa. So I really don't see anything shocking here. Nothing at all. Oh, goodness. Anyway, let's keep on keeping on. All right. Oh, good to see the FOMO-phobist. I like that. You made a positive, you made a big difference in my life. Thanks, Brian. Good. That's good. All right. Chris told me that there's a couple questions in the Q&A document that we should address. Keep in mind, we do have a new school term starting. I don't know whether, is there a link on the site up to register for the new school term? Suppose we should probably have something like that handy. if you want to learn the process, right? That's the whole point of the education program that I taught you. In fact, actually, somebody had been talking to me about the individual one-on-one coaching that I'm doing, and there's only a couple seats left. So if you are interested in that one-on-one coaching, you better reach out to me because they're going to go quick. That doesn't happen until the new year, though. So how ironic! In the middle of the summer, I told you, and like eight seats gone. So there's two more seats left. If you want them, they're there. But anyway, this person told me, I understand and appreciate you taking the time, talk to me, blah blah blah. And I said, well, no doubt the process. That's what I'm trying to teach you. The process, it works. It's just a question of getting you, and I can't force you, but it's getting you to commit to the process. I am an institutional type player. I buy down markets, I sell up markets. I am at heart a risk manager. I am obsessed with risk. I'm worried that people like Taco are going to steal my money every fucking day of the week. Risk, risk, risk. What's my risk? That's what I have to get you people thinking. Risk first approach. So as I said to this person, it's just a question of getting you to commit to the process. And that's my job. If I'm going to make a positive difference in this world and all of your lives, my job is just to simply outline what the process is and get you to the point where you commit yourself to following the process. That stops you chasing up markets and it gets you focused on buying down markets if you happen to be a 30-minute trader. Once that is done, and I've actually got you to the point where you commit to the process and you believe in your heart and soul, then the money takes care of itself. It's as simple as that. Well, Sarah, if you want to be part of the crowd, you got 2 seats left. You better DM me quick. Mind you, I don't think you're going to like the fee that I'm going to charge. I'm charging market rates for my service. So it ain't going to come cheap, but I guarantee you I will work with you for 1 full year. And at the end of that 1 full year, I believe that you will understand the process wholeheartedly. You will have all of the tools that I believe are required to get you to follow the process, all tickety-boo and up and running. And really, ironically enough, if I actually have my way with you, you become extremely valuable asset to me. And that's half the reason when I first built this TRI education program and site, I said that once you actually complete the program, you're grandfathered on whatever site, and whatever site or destination I end up in the future, it will be the same thing. Because once I actually teach you and I get you to buy into the process, and you actually are an educated trader, you are extremely valuable to me. Extremely. And I want to hold on to you. You're a valuable asset. So anyway, it wasn't really meant to be a sales pitch here. I just wanted to I just really wanted you to read to you that statement I gave to the other guy. That, what is it that I'm actually doing with all of you? All right, man, I'm running out of time here. I got to get going for Liam here in the next 20 minutes, half hour. So let's get over to that Q&A document and address those questions. And ironically enough, it's probably everything to do with what I've just been ranting on about for the past hour or two, but let's see what we got here. AMA, here we go. Brian, why are you such a fucking loser? Well, I don't know. And actually, you know what? I even have some health concerns. If I'm really lucky, I've got cancer and I die pretty soon. So then I can end this torture. And then I can be like a martyr and all of these videos and all that kind of stuff, they go down in history and I'm a martyr. That would actually be the absolute best scenario here. But if you're going to commit to the 1 year plan, that'll be after that, right? Mind you, I haven't taken any money from anybody. You'll just think, fuck, why did he have to go and die before I got my one-on-one with him? Anyway, I'm just being facetious. All right, let's see what we got here. Number one, Brian. Hi, Brian. Are you concerned that your current trade setups will eventually become ineffective when trading becomes more enhanced and automated with market participants using AI to plan out and execute trades? I can absolutely tell you without a shadow of a doubt, no. Because the irony of it all is that a good trade is a good trade is a good trade. Anybody that's been working with me for a while knows exactly what I'm talking about. So my question for you, and frankly speaking, I don't think these AI things are actually worth a pile of shit. I think they're only as good as the people that program them. And what I see with AI, what's happening is that they are just regurgitators. They don't actually think for themselves. They just regurgitate what they are told to say. Now, maybe that's going out into the interneting and mining a whole bunch of opinions and then coalescing those opinions into a statement. But AI itself, in my opinion, is not actually intelligent. It's only as intelligent as, well, it had a big red candle because all of you people are uber crazy bullish. Why else would it have a big red candle? Anyway, that's I'm mixing answers here. I'll come back to the chat and when I'm done these questions. So, if AI was as good as it appears and is being shilled as, then ironically enough, what should happen is when Brian's going, holy shit, that's a buy, you should turn around and AI should be seeing exactly the same thing that I'm saying. Holy shit, that's a buy. Although I don't think you're going to have AI say that. So no, I have no worries whatsoever. So there you go. How do you like that? Do you think you'll eventually be forced to change the trading strategy you're currently using? No, not at all. Because in essence, what I do is and I'll keep in mind, market state never changes. Either the market is in a range or the market is trending. So I have two very specific strategies that I teach in the education program, setups, if you will. And keep in mind, every single trader is different. But what I do find is that a good trade idea for one trader, if you talk to another trader who's using a different set of TA, FA, quant analysis, whatever you want to call it, they will also go, oh yeah, well, it's interesting how your reasons for being bullish, they actually correspond nicely with my reasons for being bullish. A good trade is a good trade is a good trade. So no, I don't have any worries whatsoever. And if anything, what ought to eventually end up happening is if I have a half decent trade idea and I go over to AI and I ask it, what do you think of this trade idea? AI should say, yep, that looks like it's a pretty good idea because of this, 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 and this. And of course, you all know how many reasons we should have unrelated to justify taking a trade. And the irony of it all is if you can find 3 unrelated reasons to justify taking a trade, odds are you can find 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? And 4, 5, 6 might be another trader that you know, they use those reasons. 7, 8, 9 might be another trader that uses those reasons. But the point is, a good trade is a good trade is a good trade. So that's my answer to you, David. Hope you enjoyed that. Number 2. Hi, Brian. I see a lot of trading influencers posting their $50,000 trades, and I am confused how they are able to make so much money in one trade if they're using proper risk management. Well, I think you have your answer. You've already answered your question. And the interesting thing is do they take a risk first approach? Maybe, maybe not. You can make 50 G's on a trade if you happen to catch it going the right direction, but you can also take a really good first risk first approach. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't have come in and picked up a little bit of this ahead of that Powell speech and just said, okay, you know what? And let's say this is the Bitcoin futures, right? So I'll buy that doji candle. I heard, Powell's going to be positive. I'll sell a portion, I don't know, half, 2/3 of the position at 2 to 1, and I'll just let the rest of the position run. And ironically enough, that would be almost similar to this trade that I outlined for you guys. Where the hell is it? Over here. I mean, technically, I still have on this free position of trading this previous breakout. And my conjecture was, will this free position still be alive at the Bitcoin peak? I don't know. Stops at scratch. But if this was the bottom and all of a sudden Bitcoin face rips to $1 million, and oh, by the way, Tom Lee said in that interview, he expects Bitcoin to go to 1 million. I don't see why Bitcoin wouldn't go to 1 million, but I don't think it's this cycle. I could very easily see in that hyperinflationary environment in 27, 28, Bitcoin easily goes to $1 million. But I don't know whether this position remains open. I've given myself permission to get rich by the market, but there's no guarantees. Maybe this damn thing goes straight up and this position is a $50,000 winning trade, just like your social media person. So there is a big difference between what they're touting as profits and what their actual setup is. So, I can't comment on obviously individuals themselves. You'd have to pull down their sheets and you'd have to ask, well, did this person take appropriate risk management? Remember, I was a financial planner for forever, right? Investment advisor, fellow of the Canadian Securities Institute, whatever the fuck that means. So by definition, I am going to give you the correct sort of boring, but I won't get sued by you if you go and FOMO chase something and it turns out that it's a disaster. Why? Because I forced you to take appropriate risk. I can't comment on this. Now, you inherit $5,000 from Uncle Louie and you just go and blindly buy, I don't know, this shitcoin, this shitcoin, this shitcoin, I don't know, and it goes up 100x from here, boom, there's your 50 grand. But and then you turn around and you go, yeah, stupid Beamish guy and his risk management rules. Oh, fuck him. Okay, that's fine by me. But keep in mind, there's plenty of people that did that through here, and that's $300, and they had to watch their investment literally get cut by 2/3. How would Uncle Louie feel if you walked into that mess? And keep in mind, Bitcoin does this repeatedly. Do you think there's anybody who got $5,000 from Uncle Louie? And when Trump was last president, you know what the fuck he did to this market? It was embarrassing. Straight up. Let's go buy Bitcoin's next best thing slice spread. Holy Shiite Muslim. What the hell just happened? Yeah, that's the position that I speak to you from. So I can't comment on these other people. If you're only supposed to risk 1 to 5% on any trade, it looks like these people either have a huge trading account or are using lots of leverage or are embellishing their results. Well, that might be. I mean, you can't comment on them embellishing. I mean, if they show you an account statement that says, here, I have sold this asset for 50,000, then who knows? They might have done a leverage trade. I mean, you watch the crazy, insane returns that I have on my options, bull call spreads and stuff. And of course, you've seen what I've done on shitcoins. So, making these kind of insane profits is completely realistic. But think ant and grasshopper here. I'm an ant. It's just, and I will be here 10 years from now being an ant, unless, of course, maybe if I'm lucky, I can, well, we won't go there. I'm not a grasshopper. Gucci sweater wearers, they're the grasshoppers. Can they knock the cover off the ball? You remember, this is probably a really good example of, do you guys remember Three Arrows Capital? So I think that's what it calls. If anything, I would strongly suggest that you look into, was it called Three Arrows Capital Management? I think that's what it was called, where, they became stinking rich on the last crypto move up. And then, of course, through the crypto winter, they lost it all and they went bankrupt. Well, I mean, they took big bets on the way up, they got paid. They took big bets on the way down, they got wiped out. Who knows who Durant is? Guy who founded General Motors, became the richest guy in like America. They literally stopped streetlights in New York City for Durant on his way to work. They literally stopped streetlights. That's how powerful he was. But when the Great Depression, the stock market crash in 29 came, he literally tried single-handedly to stop the stock market crash and the crash of General Motors stock, and he became bankrupt through that event. Jesse Livermore, one of the richest guys ever, complete stock market manipulator, very similar to the way that these crypto people act, made just absolute fortunes through the 20s and committed suicide in 1947 because he could not manipulate the market the way that he did in the 1920s. He literally went bankrupt because he did not understand that risk first approach. How ironic, eh? So, it's up to you. But remember, I'm the guy that'll be here 10, 20, 30. I've been at this game for 40 fucking years. Technically I am a millionaire, whatever the fuck that means. Not much these days, but I have to have $1 million to buy a house for my son. So I need to be at least a multimillionaire to be comfortably financially and own a house here in China. How fucked up is that? Um, oh, Jesus. Okay, well, let's get back to this. So, if you're only supposed to, okay, so hopefully I spoke to this question. Do you think it's realistic to make 50 G's in one trade, or do you find these types of claims suspicious? I would say your profits, and this is my perspective, are a direct function of the size of your portfolio. And if you're working with $1 million, then technically that means you could go risk $50,000 on any trade and not break Brian's rules. And if that asset doubles in price, boom, you just made 50 G's. So I would say it's probably a function of the size of their entire portfolio. And if you're lucky and you bang out a double on some shitcoin, maybe you put $5,000 into it, you sold half at 10,000 so to get your original money back, but it 10x's the rest of that asset. Maybe you take 50 G's out of the market with the rest of that asset. That's perfectly fine too. So I wouldn't say that they're wrong. I would just say that you're just not given enough information by these people to actually make a reasoned decision as to whether this was just purely a roll of the dice, speculative gamble, or whether this person is actually a seasoned Wall Street veteran risk manager. You just don't have enough information, and that's fine. It's just the way life goes. All right, number 3. Jesus, what the fuck is all this? BTC weekly RSI. Yeah, the writing's on the walls. In fact, I remember there was a gentleman that he was a quote unquote student of mine. I don't think he really learned. Well, I think he did, but he didn't. But anyway, where's a weekly chart? Here, let's use this one. Could you make the argument that technically this bull market is getting really old, right? And we know trade location, right? Then the thing is, we want to think indicator confirmation. Well, you tell me, is RSI bullish or bearish right now? Uh-oh, spaghettios. So you can clearly see that the momentum of this market is waning. No doubt about it. No doubt whatsoever. Thanks, Jim and Liz. Appreciate it. Oh, no offense, but I hope that's Liz talking and not Jim. Arr, arr, arr. I'm just talking. Anyway, just being stupid. But you're absolutely right. Relative strength. And there was one guy, like I said, when Bitcoin was making this kind of pattern previous cycle, he was like, "Oh, don't worry about Bitcoin and silly things like momentum divergences. Just go in and buy and you'll get rich." Oh God, you're kidding me. So I can't argue with this image. Whoever posted this, just be careful. I don't know what this is. Alexa Crypto created for Taco on E-mini S&P futures. All right. All right. Is there a question there, or is it sort of just a statement? Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some staggering market manipulation going on in our society right now. Taco has no ethics whatsoever. None whatsoever. I do think Basant, to a certain degree, has some ethics and morals, but at the same time, too, he's told you specifically, I am a risk manager. I take risk approach to everything. So seeing markets break out and then them getting whacked right back down, that is Basant 101.
Recording stopped.
And there you go. Perfect end to the recording. So I think that was it for the questions here today. And if anything, 10 after 1, probably a good time for me to slide on out of here. I would strongly suggest that if you're watching this video for the first time, TRI, the company, the website, does have a fairly good basic education program to teach you the process. I think that TRI itself is going to be automating that process quite a bit more over the next, let's say, 6 months, year. So in its current form, you can still listen to Brian's old original lectures. And I'm not exactly sure who is going to be TAing the program. But on balance, I think TRI does have pretty knowledgeable people that act as sort of learning supports. I would strongly suggest that you get your butt into the education program and learn the process before you actually go and start risking your hard-earned money in the market. And I know probably most of you who are brand new to this channel, you probably already have invested and you just want to hear the sort of circle jerk. Yeah, that was a good investment. Yeah, buy crypto. Yeah, you're going to get rich. But I would simply say it's not that easy. Be damn careful with your money. Risk first approach, trade with a plan, try and disconnect your emotional state with you actually risking money in the marketplace. And for God's sakes, learn what setups are and how you actually identify what a quote unquote good trade, a good risk is worth taking. And of course, seeing an indicator spitting out M's repeatedly, that is a very bad buying idea. So be damn careful with your money here, folks. The writing is on the walls, whether it be the bond market, which usually does well through a weak economy, whether it be the stock market, going parabolic here, small caps dramatically outperforming, whether it be the Bitcoin cycle, whether it be the fact that, all of the world governments have been, and quasi-government, central banks, whatever you want to call them, have been lowering interest rates. And now it looks like the Americans are finally the last shoe to drop there. We are clearly, the market is speaking to you. I mean, ironically enough, the simple fact that the central banks around the world are lowering interest rates, that should actually be very cautionary for you as an investor. That, hey, why are they lowering interest rates? Isn't that the sign of a weak economy, not a strong economy? Anyway, point of the matter here is there is a ton of anecdotal evidence out there. We're not at the top yet, so make hay while the sun's shining. Be light on your toes, trade your goddamn setups, and try not to take too much risk. If you do want an invitation to this private social media channel, I don't give it out on YouTube, on Twitter, whatever the fuck that place is called. This will be sort of my short form advertising, just quick one piece. But if you'd like further write-ups, more detail about what I'm thinking about markets, then reach out to me. And I'll be more than happy to give you the link to my Substack. You can see what it is. And while I'm still at TRI, there's no profit or anything. It's a private channel. Anybody that DMs me, whatever, you can sign up for free. Obviously that'll change when I leave TRI in the new year. All right. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Try not to take any wooden nickels. All the best. The only thing left Brian to say to you is, please wish Lily and I the best of luck on the roads with the crazy ass Chinese drivers now. Hint, hint, hint. Very few of them actually learned how to drive in Canada. So it's a pretty crazy out there right now. But all the best. Hugs and kisses. And bye for now.